Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Benny Bassett and Amanda K. Turpin. We are in our last few hours of being in the United Kingdom, aka also now in Scotland. And we are packing up, getting laundry done, getting ready to drive down to Glasgow. We'll have another beautiful drive tomorrow through a national park. No big deal. Everything in Scotland is beautiful. I don't even know how they differentiate between this being beautiful and this being a national park. I don't even know anymore. It's all just very, very pretty. And but yeah, little drive tomorrow morning. So we're just kind of reorganizing before we fly into the mainland of Europe. And we're going to start off in a city where we had lunch last time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So more on that in the next video. But for now, we're going to catch you up with our last couple days. That's today and yesterday here in Inverness. And let's see, we started out in Nairn. We took it's like, I think I said in the last video, it's about a 20-minute train ride between Nairn and Inverness. And as we were on the train, I called about our rental car because we decided to get a rental car here so we could kind of see some more things in our own time. And they were like, we're at the airport. And there's a brand new, or seemingly very new, little train station in between Nairn and downtown Inverness, which is at the Inverness airport. Glad I called, figured that out. They came and picked us up, met us there. We got this little Fiat, the tiniest little car ever, but
A little clown car. It's very cute.
you can park it anywhere. You can turn around anywhere. It's wonderful. And it fits on these tiny little roads. Super helpful. And it's a hybrid. So
The gas mileage we've been getting has been really incredible.
when I drive cars in the US and they're like, this is the highest mileage car we have. And then I get in the tiniest rinky-dink car here and it's 55 miles a gallon. I'm like, we could do better. So anyway, we left Nairn in the morning. We took the train. We got off at the airport. We got our car. We drove into, we stayed with friends. These same new friends that we saw in Nairn. They've been awesome, super helpful, and are really nice people. They run a bed and breakfast up here in this beautiful old estately looking place with a bunch of old redwoods that were like transplanted from the States or somewhere crazy. I don't know. It's amazing. And
it's really, really picturesque and
beautiful.
they're just so
And they got cute
friendly.
dogs.
That's really why we're here.
And it's called the Cool House. So
And it's pretty cool.
hello. But yeah, we dropped our stuff off because we prefer to not have our stuff because it's heavy and not leave stuff in the car, you know. And I found a little place for us to eat lunch. It was very cute and a good old salads and stuff. I don't know why I'm talking about that, but it was a little cottage in a little town called Maryborough, I'm pretty sure. And then we went to a distillery, which used to be called Glen Ord. And now Glen Ord is now owned by the parent company, which is Singleton, which I'm sure you've heard of. If you don't know Singleton and you've had whiskey, you've probably drank some of their whiskey before because they have their hands in many different brands, including Johnny Walker and Dewar's. If you're not a big Irish, like a fancy single malt drinker, you'll know it from those brands. And they also do some malting for other smaller distilleries around Scotland because they have they have the facilities for it.
Huge operation.
So it's cool because they not only are selling some of their main brands, they also have the brands that they do the other work with in their shop too, which I think is very indicative of the all ships rise seemingly kind of idea for distilleries here in Scotland, and I like that. I learned that phrase from this young lady. So yeah, we had a little tasting. You had a great one. This one that was for their 50th.
Mm-hmm. And you can only buy it there. I had a flight of 3 whiskeys.
Yeah. You can only get this one that she got at the distillery, and it was for their 50th anniversary of the opening of that distillery. So very cool. I just kind of chose 2 that one I thought the bottle was pretty, and the other one was from Skye, the Isle of Skye, a distillery that I really thought I knew the name of and told Amanda to look for, and then it turns out it wasn't anything like the name I remember.
Completely different, but that's okay.
You're welcome.
All the whiskeys I drink, I think, were kind of like Highland whiskeys. They were all like a little bit more like, not herbaceous, but like more perfumey and floral and kind of nuanced and not as peaty and smoky as some of the stuff you were drinking.
The one from Isle Skye was a peat machine, but it was still very good. And sometimes peaty whiskeys are really like burny and or like too. I don't know. I don't mind that. I don't mind mezcal, any of that kind of smoky stuff. Smoke it up, fuzz nuts. So anyway, that's what I say. It's true.
They were all very, very good.
Yeah. Then, whoop.
Oh, just the guy behind the counter was really helpful in helping us kind of determine what we wanted. Gave us a lot of information, even though we did not take the tour.
And there was a musician.
Yep.
And the very first song she played was this song we've talked about a few times now. Ship called Dignity. It's a Deacon Blue song, and it was the very first thing she played, and I was like, this might be the song of the trip. But now that we're leaving Scotland, I don't know if that will still work.
We can have songs for country.
Yeah, okay, fair. That works. We've been in, not quite, almost as long as we were in England, but it's pretty close. Yeah. Anyway, I had a show at a little place called Castle Tavern. There's a big Inverness Castle, which is this really beautiful red or pink sandstone castle that overlooks the river and the downtown area. It was being worked on, so kind of hard to see the whole thing, but it is very, like, when the sun hits it, it's very kind of appears very pink and stands out on the skyline.
Very pretty.
And the Castle Tavern is right down the hill from it, kind of on a corner. It's like very interesting because it's like in a corner, but it's like 2 stories because the corner kind of loops down, so that there's like maybe even 3 levels of this bar. And they had me playing outside under a little awning on what was another beautiful night. It was kind of cool breeze. It's right on the water, so very pretty. And there was just like a whole collection of people coming by, stopping in because they heard music. I even ran into a couple from Illinois, and they were out looking for traditional Irish music, and then traditional Scottish music, which, I mean, they could have been looking for traditional Irish.
They were looking for, like, the
Someone said cross the pond, and we crossed the wrong pond. Anyway, they're looking for traditional Scottish music, and then they said they heard me singing something, and they were like, I think he's American. And they were like,
they decided
we knew all of your songs. So anyway, very interesting. And then there were a bunch of folks there to see the guy that was playing after me, who is like regularly plays there and was very entertaining. Played to the crowd quite well, whereas I play to myself. Whatever that means.
People say know your audience, and Ben knows his audience.
I say no to my audience all the time.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Anyway, it was very fun. Good food.
Yeah,
great prices.
really great.
Solid drinks. Danny behind the counter. Tell him I sent you. It might work. Might not. He was so friendly, so funny, and I did the cover of Regulate that I do often, and he was like, wanted so badly to come out and listen to it, and he came out for like the last 30 seconds, and he was just telling me, he's like, I was so mad. I had this customer who kept asking me for stuff, and I was like, I need to get outside and listen to this song. Made me laugh so hard. That thing's gonna eat us. Here it comes. Ha ha. It only likes mosquitoes. It won't eat us, I promise. It went up.
Okay.
Yeah, he's helping us.
Yeah.
This house is like an eco, and it gets cold here in Scotland. I don't know if you guys know that, but like in the winter. So this house like kind of naturally warms itself like through the day. So
There it is again.
In the nighttime, it's quite warm. So we have the window open, and we're just inviting everybody in.
All the bugs.
But it's just like, we have mosquito eaters, those like kind of long-legged things at home. But this one is like a bird. It's a small bird.
Oh, he's so cute.
Get out of here! Oh, this might ruin the whole video. It's gonna be okay.
I think this will be everybody's favorite
Yeah.
video.
Anyway, I played the show. Went great. We stuck around for some of Sean's set, and then we went home. Woke up, had big plans the next day. We were like, all set to go on this Loch Ness boat tour and go find Nessie.
What did you have for breakfast this morning?
Oh, Amanda makes a good point. Like we mentioned, our friends run this B&B / fancy house hotel thing, and they invited us to come up for breakfast, and I decided this is my chance, because it's like homemade, or relatively homemade, small kitchen of like at a fine establishment, instead of being like I'm at Applebee's and I'm gonna get haggis. So I got black pudding. I got a traditional Scottish breakfast. It was like black pudding,
a plate of
haggis, bacon, which bacon in the UK means ham.
A slab of
a
ham.
slab of ham. When I followed up someone with a question last night about, do you mean bacon or do you mean bacon? And he's like, we don't do that streaky stuff. And I was like, no, you just do a whole rack of ham. Rack of ham? Anyway.
As opposed to a rack of lamb.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I think that should be the name of your show.
Anyway,
yeah.
I tried.
You had a sausage link, and then you also had eggs and beans.
Beans, not refried beans. What are they called?
Baked beans.
Baked beans. Yeah. Anyways, a lot of food. It would have been a lot of food for two people, but I was very proud of myself. I ate as much of the black pudding and haggis as I could before I started thinking about what it was. And why it's okay for hot dogs or sausage, I'll never know. It's just what we're used to, I guess. But they weren't bad. It was a lot of meat on a plate. Mm-hmm. And I think I could have used a fruit or a vegetable. Anyway, I did it. It was good. Yeah. You tried some?
Yeah, I had a couple bites. I feel like anybody who likes meatloaf will like haggis.
I made the mistake of asking
our host
about what black pudding was after I tried it, because I didn't want to know before. But I should have waited till I was done with breakfast.
The seed, and we're both kind of thinking about it.
Yep.
I had porridge.
Yeah, Amanda had porridge. She went traditional too. Porridge is real up here.
It was so great.
It was like big old. It was like barley, or is that what you thought it was? It was like big old grains in that porridge. It was good. I had some too. I had my requisite 5 drinks: some water, some tea, some coffee, some orange juice. I thought there was one more. Anyway, that's what I do.
You only had 4.
Well, I'm slowing down. Anyway, we left there and we thought we had this wonderful boat trip planned out on Loch Ness. We show up, and here's the thing. Planning this trip, I really did a lot of research to try and find cool things to do, and the cheapest way to do those cool things. Sometimes that meant third-party deals. Sometimes it meant random, like, McDonald's meal deal stuff. So it's all sorts of things.
Sometimes you meet a guy in a parking lot and you buy a boat tour out of his trench coat.
I didn't do that. Anyway, this is a pretty well-known company, Get Your Guide. But what I've noticed is that when you use a lot of third-party companies here, they do some kind of funky maneuverama on how they get the information. So like one of the first hotels we checked into, they'd like sent the hotel a credit card number to charge for them. Mm-hmm. But it didn't show up in my account, so they charged my card, and when I went back and looked, it was like, I already paid for this. So it's just like good to be vigilant, know what you paid for, kind of know how the things work. So this was Get Your Guide gives the company their email, this long email that's unique to me, but it only goes to them. So they changed the time of our tour, sent the email to Get Your Guide, never made it to me, so we showed up when it was supposed to happen. We were too late. So we decided to kind of do these sites that I had thought we might do in the morning, so it all worked out. It
worked out perfectly because it was really rainy this morning and really foggy, and I don't know.
It was like traditional Scottish weather.
Yeah.
The lady on the bus today said, we don't have bad weather, we have the wrong clothes. I was like, huh? But she was very nice. We went to Clava Cairns, which are not far from the Culloden battlefield, which is, we won't give you the full history lesson, but essentially there was You want to hit it? You're the history
Go
person.
ahead.
There was a cause for Scottish independence, essentially, on behalf of one set of royals. They're called the Jacobites, clashing against British monarchy, and the Jacobites were eventually defeated on this battlefield at Culloden. So it's marked with all sorts of historical things. We didn't go in because the battlefield is huge, and we just didn't have. It's one of those things we didn't have time to do. But from the sound of it, there were a couple cool things that would have been neat to see. They have a marker in each place in the field where each clan fought from Scotland. There's apparently this thing, I don't know if you heard this on the bus today, called the battle room. And my only guess is they kind of put it like you were in the battle from the way that our driver described it. And I was like, it sounds cool and frightening. So that's a bummer. But we did go, the cairns are kind of right next to the battlefield, and they are very old, 4,000 years old.
Maybe 4,000 years old.
And unclear exactly, like most anything that old, it's unclear exactly what they were used for, but people make a lot of educated guesses. If you're a big Outlander fan, they're featured in there. Actually, like the standing stone, split stone deal, you'll know what I'm talking about if you know the show, but they have one of those there. So it is like a very like any site like that, it's kind of like weird. Should I be quiet and respectful because it's a burial ground? What should I be walking on? Like, it's hard to know, and you just get a little bit of everything. So it's very cool, and I think really incredibly impressive. It shows what we could do if we weren't on our phones all day. That's what I would say.
You want to go build a bunch of cairns for...
Hey man, I'm just saying, people
people
found ingenuitive, they had commitment to things and seeing things through on behalf of other people or for other people or to honor people. I think that's cool. A lot like we're honoring this trip with our commitment to these videos. Ho, ha, ha, hee, hee.
There's something
bang, bang.
about this site that, much like the cliff dwellings in the Gila National Forest in New Mexico, they're not only just like records of ancient people, but they're also like records of like how to be a bad archaeologist. So during Victorian times, a lot of folks in that period got really obsessed with like antiquity and like going on archaeological digs, but they were
just taking stuff.
Well, they were treasure hunters as well. Even folks who thought that they were being like historians, they destroyed sites for future use. And the cairns are also a really great example of that, where sometimes it's not like people were out purposely destroying it, but maybe they excavated the site in an irresponsible way.
And some of it probably has to do with better techniques too, but it just seemed like it was a little careless in some cases.
Well, and so as it became popular, so you had some people who maybe even were more legitimate archaeologists and some people who were hobbyists, and that's kind of the whole
Hobbyologists?
Yeah, hobbyologists. But it's unfortunate because it can, when we do have like better tools or like understand something a little bit better, sometimes you have to go in as an archaeologist or a historian and kind of like look past, a previous person's work or hobby to see what was going on. It can make the information very confusing. In the same way, like at the Gila National Forest back home, in those cliff dwellings, an archaeologist in like the 1800s had taken a lot of food remains and put them all in one room. Well, if you're kind of like modern day archaeologist or detective, it may lead you to believe that that was a place where people gathered to eat, but it wasn't true. So it can lead you to the wrong conclusion.
Are we going to the Gilas next?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh no,
I was on a tangent.
I don't care. No, it's a good analogy, point. It's a good point. Also a good place to visit. You should come to New Mexico anytime. We'll tell you all about it. After the cairns, we went to a castle. I know this is going to shock many of you, but it was another, maybe not favorite, but it was a unique to many of the other castles we've seen. Again, because it's lived in, but also because it had like a little fairy tale feel to it. It had like, what are the
like the turrets or
the turrets, the top parts though. We're getting all sorts of bugs now. But it looked it had a little, at least the main tower, keep, whatever, it had like a little Disney-esque castle type feeling to it. And similar to, how am I ever going to remember which one? Is it Dunatur that had, no, Dunvegan that had like really beautiful gardens. This place also had a hedge maze. It's like a walled garden with a maze and a weird bull torso thing in the Minotaur. Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah, not how I imagined it, but yes, it was. It looked more like a torso with a bull head stuck on it as opposed to like a anyway.
A lot of these castles are like the seats of like current day clans, and some families even live in them. It's something I really loved about this castle, in addition to all the, you know, artwork from like 15, 16, 1700s. They had a lot of modern artwork in there too, just like floor to ceiling modern artwork. They had a doodle just hanging randomly on a wall that was drawn by Salvador Dali.
Just
like,
a doodle.
So that Minotaur sculpture was more kind of a modern. I mean, he didn't have any. He was sort of just a torso with a bull's head.
Yeah, it was like that Greek sculpture thing where there are no arms.
There was even some Japanese art. There were like lots of weapons collected from the Middle East. Like clearly the people who are like the clan represented in this castle.
Well traveled.
They're well traveled, like really like collector oriented.
And there was we took the audio guide because I read some reviews and it was like, take the audio guide. It's kind of funny. And I was like, what does that even mean?
It was.
But they had quotes from the Earl, like the folks that had lived there or built it, or, you know, very early on in its history. And then it would tell you some story and be like, do at the end. And you're like, all right, I get it. It's a little funny. But yeah, there were like a lot of unique touches about this castle. The story is it was built on a tree. So down next to this room, they presume is either a dungeon or playroom.
Tomato, potato.
Here, there, whatever. There's a tree. It died a long, long time ago, but because the castle was built there, and the story goes that the earl that was looking to build this castle strapped a bunch of gold to a donkey, and he decided wherever the donkey laid down, he was going to build the castle. And it laid down under this tree. So he's like, bam, this is where the castle goes. And so they built it around this tree, and even the carbon dating on the tree is the right 1300-ish. It's about that right time. But the tree has been dead, so it's just kind of like still in the ground and kind of hooked at the ceiling, so it can't like fall down.
Sad little Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
With nothing, no branches, nada. It's just the trunk. Anyway, still a very like, you could have just covered it up and said there was a tree. Instead, it's still there and it like lives on.
I love that it's still there.
I do too. I'm just saying, in another instance, people would have done that and been like, there was a tree, here's a picture of it, in some other castles we've been in. Or just history gets, you know, like Amanda was talking about, either excavation or the new family moves in or time goes by and people are like, what are we doing? So it's cool that they carried on. And there are a lot of little things like that throughout the house. And, did that. Then we ended up heading back into town. We rescheduled the boat tour. So we showed back up. We took a bus with Miss Karen, who was our bus driver. Very, very funny and entertaining.
On multiple occasions, she encouraged me to throw Ben overboard as a
when we got on the boat,
human sacrifice to the Loch Ness
so that
monster.
Nessie would show up. And I said I would do it if it meant that Nessie would show up for everybody on the boat.
That's very altruistic of you.
I figured that I would get to see her too before I went down under the water, not Australia. Although who knows where she goes. But after riding in a boat in this thing, I could imagine that something could hide for a long time. This is a gigantic body of water.
It's huge and it's very, very deep.
Very. And 2.5 miles across at the widest point. And the point we were at is like almost 800 feet deep. Like it's murky as all get out. Like the edges you can kind of see, but once you get a few feet down, it is like tobacco colored darkness and glacier water. And so we didn't find her that I know of.
Oh, I saw her.
Dang! I was on the wrong side of the boat. But one of the stops you make is at this Castle Urquhart, and it's castle ruins. But it is beautiful. Another castle right on the water. Karen was saying it's like the third most visited castle in Scotland. Probably because it's on Loch Ness as well. It helps.
Right, that helps.
We can walk all through it. We had a limited amount of time because our boat was running a little behind. But we ran around.
Yeah.
And we were really looking forward to finding some Nessie goods. But there weren't any. Because it was really the castle shop, not a Nessie shop. And on the way right back, we passed Nessie Land, and I was like, now that's where we should have gone. Which is for sale if you want to take over Nessie Land. We found out 1.5 million pounds. Come on down. Dun, 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 dun.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, that would have been good for that. Anyway, I think that was kind of our day. And what a cool way to it was like all the kind of types of stories we heard in the UK all in one day. So like battles, historical uprisings, the winning of the British government, the like story of reaving and the clans, and then going to a castle and seeing a clan castle and seeing those histories and how clans banded together and joined histories, and then going and seeing mythological stories. And it was like a great single day wrap up of a lot of the types of stories we've been hearing. And that's all I've got to say about that. Anyway, we're off to Amsterdam tomorrow, so I'm kind of excited. I mean, this has been a wonderful 3.5 weeks, but we have even more than that left. So sorry.
Stop pod.
Yeah, we're gonna rage. Amsterdam rage. Anyway, thanks for listening, you guys. Talk to you on the next one. Good night.